The next letter is A, and that's accept the change. See, seeing the change and having a willingness to do something about it, those are two completely different things. I think sometimes we think that they're very close, but they're actually very far apart. Right? Recognition of a problem and the willingness to change it, they're far apart. And in between those is what? It's fear. It's fear. And our old dependency on self-control shows back up. We want to take control. See, step 6 will not work. This step will not work unless, it won't work if you are still trapped in your own self-will. It just won't. See, we need to be ready to accept God's help throughout the transition. And what's the transition? The transition is replacing it, removing the negative and replacing it with a positive. And the Bible makes this very clear, very clear. In 1 Peter 1, 13 and 14, it says, "So then, have your minds ready for action. Keep alert and set your hope completely on the blessing which has been given to you when Jesus Christ is revealed. Be obedient to God, and do not allow your lives to be shaped by those desires and then when you were still ignorant." Right? Wow. You know, I think of all the desires that I had when I was still ignorant and how they were shaping my life. You know, by working this step, we are actually building a foundation for ultimate surrender. That's what this step is building. That's the foundation. So we need the willingness to let God to lead us in this journey. Now, how many of you believe that you're on a journey? This is a journey that we're on. The next letter is D, and that is do replace your character defects. So we spend a lot of time on our old hang-ups and our compulsions and our obsessions and our habits. And when God removes one, right? When God removes one, not us, not you, not me, we don't remove the character defects. When God removes the character defects, you need it to replace it with a positive. Okay? If you don't, you open yourself up for a negative character defect to return. And Jesus tells us this. In Matthew 12, 43 through 45, he says this: "When an evil spirit goes out of a person, it travels over dry country looking for a place to rest. If it can't find one, it says to itself, 'I will go back to my house.' So it goes back and finds the house empty." Now, what he's saying here, that the house represents us, of course, right? And it's empty because the evil spirit is gone. You know, the negative is gone, but we haven't replaced it with anything. So the house is empty. Then it goes on and brings along 7 other spirits, even worse than itself, and they come to live there. How many can give a testimony on that? I mean, a lot of us can. I mean, what is Jesus saying here? He's saying, when I remove your character defect, right? This is Jesus talking. When I remove your character defect, it's your responsibility to replace it with a positive. Right? That's what he's saying. So he'll remove it, but he won't replace it. And he's also saying, if you're having problems with that, come talk to me about that. You know, pray. Talk to me. We'll work through this. He's there for you. He's there for you. You know, I said my character defect was a lack of positive self-image. You know, it was really more of a negative self-image. I spent a lot of time in bars. I spent a lot of time in places I shouldn't have been. And when I started working the 12 steps, I found that I had a lot of time on my hands when I stopped doing all that stuff. And I tried to fill it by doing positive things that would build up my self-esteem. You know, volunteering, just doing 12-step work. You know, in addition to that, I was going to a lot of meetings. And, you know, I started fellowshipping with healthy people. You know, and people who were like me, the people who were, you know, were doing what I was doing. You know, people who were replacing the negative, or removing the negative and replacing it with a positive. The last letter on your handout is Y, and that is yield to the growth. Yield to the growth. For me, at first, my old self-doubt when I started working the program came back. You know, my low self-image was basically telling me that I wasn't worthy of this. I wasn't worthy of growth. I wasn't worthy of progress in my life. You know, I wasn't worthy of making it in this program. You know, I kept hearing that. And if you hear that, those suggestions from the enemy, don't listen. Don't listen. Okay? Yield to the growth. So, are you ready to have God remove all the character defects in your life? Are you ready? Yes. Me too. Me too.